Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, text number 23. Na brahmanais tulaya bhutamanyat pashyami vipraha kim atah param tu yasmin rubi prahutam shraddhayaham ashnami kamam na tathagnihotre. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O respectful Brahmanas, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive, after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Vedic system, after the sacrificial ceremony, the Brahmanas are invited to eat the remnants of the offered food. When the Brahmanas eat the food, it is to be considered directly eaten by the Supreme Lord. Thus, no one can be compared to qualified Brahmanas. The perfection of evolution is to be situated on the Brahmanical platform. Any civilization not based on Brahmanical culture or guided by Brahmanas is certainly a condemned civilization. Presently, human civilization is based on sense gratification, and consequently, more and more people are becoming addicted to different types of things. No one respects Brahmanical culture. Demoniac civilization is attached to Ugra Karma, horrible activities, and big industries are created to satisfy unfathomable lusty desires. Consequently, the people are greatly harassed by governmental taxation. The people are irreligious and do not perform the sacrifices recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Yagnat bhavati parjanyaha. By the performance of sacrifice, clouds form and rain falls. Due to sufficient rainfall, there is sufficient production of food. Guided by the Brahmanas, society should follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Then people will become very happy. Annad bhavanti bhutani. When animals and man are sufficiently fed with grains, they become stronger. Their hearts become tranquil and their brains peaceful. They can then advance in spiritual life, life's ultimate destination. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So we are reading Lord Rishabhadeva's teachings to his sons in the presence of the Brahmanas. So that's why in this verse today we see Vipraha, O learned Brahmanas. He is addressing them also. Na brahmanais tulaye bhutamanyat pashyami. Brahmanais tulaye. Brahmanais tulaye bhutam. Bhutam, entity. Prabhupada has translated here as entity. This expression, brahma-bhuta, jiva-bhuta, pancha-bhuta, you can reduce the volume, it's echoing. There's nobody there. So this word bhuta, it takes different meanings in different contexts. Here, in the sense of brahma-bhuta, it is a state. It is a situation. That's why Prabhupada has used entity. Brahmanai tulaya bhutam. Brahmanai, that state of a situation of a Brahmana in terms of consciousness. Brahmanai stulaye bhutam anyat na pashyami. I don't see anybody on the state of a Brahmanas, on the state of the evolution of the Brahmanas. Na brahmanai stulaye bhutam anyat na pashyami. I do not consider, I do not see. The Lord is saying, Vipraha, O respectful Brahmanas, kim ataha param tu? Ataha param kim? Who is there above them? See the status that Lord is giving to the Brahmanas. Yasmin rubihi prahutam shraddhayaham ashnami, kamam ashnami. When human beings offer prahutam, offer food. Prahutam means that which is offered. Prahutam is specially sacred offering. Prahutam, shraddhaya, with faith and love, when they offer to Yasmin, to such Brahmanas, to such qualified Brahmanas. Aham ashnami kamam, I eat happily, with satisfaction. I eat with satisfaction when it is offered to the Brahmanas. Na tathagnihotre, agnihotre, na tathagnihotre, not as much kamam, satisfaction, as when it is offered to the fire. So, O respectful Brahmanas, Vipraha, as far as I am concerned, Pashyami, I see, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. Brahmanai tulaye bhutam na pashyami. Anyat na pashyami. I do not see. I do not find anyone comparable to them. Kimatha param tu. When people know my motive after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me, prahutam, with faith and love, shraddhaya, through the mouth of a Brahmana, Yasmin, through whom? Just now, in the first two lines, Rishabhadeva has described about Brahmana. Yasmin rubihi prahutam, when it is offered to them, shraddhaya aham ashnami. When people know my motive after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it. Aham ashnami, with full satisfaction. Kamam, aham ashnami, aham kamam ashnami. I eat with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. Na tatha. Similar satisfaction I don't get in Agnihotre. So, this is the system Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. According to the Vedic system, when a sacrificial ceremony is performed, the Brahmanas are invited and they are fed. Obviously, this is not referring to just some Brahmana kula, somebody born in Brahmin family. It is qualified Brahmanas. That is the very, very clear intent we can see. In fact, when different Vedic ceremonies are performed, when I have seen personally, when my father's or mother's ceremony happens, my family members, they call me because I'm the only son to go and do that. So I oblige and I go. And so I see a somebody, priest, does all that. And then one Brahmin is called. He's mostly one retired old man and poor man. And he's waiting, he'll be called and he'll get one food, lunch. So he's called, or a woman is also called, a Brahmana woman. And she's also given the food. After all the thing, for this first food is offered to them, and after they eat, then others can eat. See, the point is, the original intent is this. Finally, it boils down and it reduces to this kind of a ritual. But at least the ritual exists in our country. I'm sure everywhere, you go to Haridwar, you go to Varanasi, you go to all those places, there will be some Brahmanas. Actually, they're called the Pandas. Actually, they're supposed to be Brahmanas. So, we see the Vedic culture, the pure Vedic culture, diluted, watered, polluted, contaminated, being practiced in our country today. There is a semblance of it. Very rarely the true things are not properly understood, appreciated. So, this is, Brahmanas are, this Brahmanais tulaye bhutam. It is a state, as Srila Prabhupada explains. Consciousness evolves. We all have consciousness. Even an animal has consciousness. A bird has consciousness. Even an insect has consciousness. Awareness. But that awareness, that consciousness can be refined, can be developed. In a bodily conscious society, in a bodily conception of life, we will say, children should get good nutrition, because nutrition is important for the well-being of the body. In a mental and intellectual conception of life, people will say, children should be nicely educated. See, they're also talking about, well-being of a person in terms of the physical well-being and in terms of mental and intellectual well-being, because you have to be an informed, educated person, cannot be unpad, right? Uneducated, illiterate kind of a person. So they appreciate that. So in the bodily conception of life, There is appreciation of the well-being of the body, well-being of the mind and intellect. But even beyond that is the consciousness. That is central to our being. And that consciousness can be evolved. And the highest level of evolution, in one sense, we'll come to that a little later, is the state of evolution of a Brahmana. And that is also called brahma-bhuta. The state of a Brahmana, the state of Brahman. Because at that stage he can understand Brahman. So I'll read one verse from the Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna uses this word brahma-bhuta many times. Because he's talking about evolution of consciousness to the state of a brahma-bhuta state. So one of the verses in the 6th chapter, Krishna says, Prashanta manasam henam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma-bhutam akalmasham. You see, brahma-bhutam, it is a state of a Brahman. So, each one of us who have a consciousness, we can evolve our consciousness to a state of a Brahman consciousness, Brahma-bhutam consciousness. And that state of such a person who has evolved to that state, he is classified as a Brahmana. Not somebody just by birth. Like Srila Prabhupada gives the example, a surgeon is somebody who is trained in that knowledge and he can perform surgery. No, I didn't go to any school. My father was a surgeon, so I have also become a surgeon. Nobody is going to accept that. So surgeon is a state of in that case, it's not consciousness, it's knowledge and some skills, some competence to perform surgery, to understand what is wrong, and then to perform some surgery in the body and correct it. So it's a state of existence of a person in terms of his intellectual training and competence that he or she has acquired. And hence he is called a surgeon. So in the same way, a Brahmana is a state of consciousness, not by birth at all. So what is that state of consciousness? Krishna is saying, Prashanta manasam. His mind is fixed and tranquil and satisfied. Not running here, there. So when our mind is running on after material things, it will never be satisfied. Prashanta manasam yenam yoginam sukhamuttamam. He is experiencing sukha, satisfaction or pleasure or happiness, which is uttamam. So this is an important distinguishing factor between a consciousness which is evolved and a consciousness which is not evolved. The proof or the test of an evolved consciousness is on what this consciousness, in what the consciousness finds pleasure. What are we running after? What kind of pleasure are we running after? That is an indication of the state of consciousness. Because consciousness is always seeking happiness. Where do we seek happiness? That is why that example Srila Prabhupada gives. There was once Indra, he committed some offense. So he was cursed by his guru, go become a pig. And he became a pig. And, in our country we have seen pigs, how they are. They are immersed in some unmentionable things. And they find pleasure there. You see? Why are they there? Because they find pleasure there. So, Lord Brahma went to that pig and said, "Dear Brahma pig, Indra pig." He was actually Indra, but he has become a pig. His pleasure sense has gone so down. So he is telling Indra pig, "You are actually entitled for heavenly pleasure. What are you doing? What's happened to you?" And Indra pig is obstinate. He says, No, I am very happy here. In this simple story, Srila Prabhupada conveys so many things. We are actually entitled for that Sukham Uttamam. Uttamam means Tamam Uttamam. Not material, not mundane, not this dark material pleasure. Uttamam, transcendental. That's what we are entitled to get. But we are satisfied with the material pleasures. Just like Indra pig. We are also, in one sense, running after material pleasures. But we are actually entitled for spiritual Uttamam Sukham. And when Brahma came and told Indra pig, "Please come," he says, "No." In that, Srila Prabhupada is conveying how that we are so attached to these material pleasures. We don't want to give it up. You see, very beautiful. Simple things, Srila Prabhupada said, but it has got a lot of depth. So, Sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam. That state of upaiti, you will attain that state. That state is called brahma-bhutam. Brahma-bhutam upaiti. You will attain that brahma-bhuta state of consciousness. Shantarajasam. And the rajoguna is quietened, pacified passion. Shantarajasam. Rajas has become Shanta. When Shanta, Rajas is not Shanta, then it will be agitating our minds and we'll be running here, there, running after sense pleasures. Brahma-bhutam akalmasham. Akalmasham, freed from all sinful reactions. Pure. Kalmasha, all kalmasha gone. Yogi whose mind is fixed on me, verily. Prabhupada translates the word prashanta manasam as mind fixed on me. Because of course earlier Krishna has said, fix your mind on me. So when your mind is fixed on Krishna, it becomes prashanta. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest happiness. Uttamam sukham. By virtue of his identity with Brahman, Brahma-bhutam, upaiti, he is liberated. His mind is peaceful. Shantarajasam. His passions are quieted. Shantarajasam. And he is free from sin. Kalmasha. So, Prabhupada's purport. The very first sentence, you see. Brahma-bhuta is the state of being free from material contamination and situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. It is a state of being. We can all be in that state of being. That is the Brahmanized bhutam that Krishna is talking about. Well, Rishabhadeva is talking. There is another very important verse in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada often quotes this. What is this nature of being in the Brahma-bhuta state or a Brahmana's consciousness? What is it? When I was young, in school and college, I used to think, what will I be when I grow up? Because if something I do, I would get bored very easily. I want something new. What is the same thing? So I used to always wonder, I think schoolboy, I think high school boy. Maybe I should become a police constable, stopping traffic. Every time I see different vehicles, something and all, I used to think like that. So it was boring. Becomes boring, same thing. So, then at some point, much later, I came across this verse from the Bhagavatam, which is talking about brahma-bhuta state. I'll read this. Very beautiful. And Prabhupada very often quotes this. Oh, where has it gone? It's here. Navyavad hridaye yagno brahmaitad brahmavadibihi na muhyanti na shochanti na hrishyanti yato gataha. Navyavad hridaye yagno brahmaitad brahmavadibihi. Brahmavadibihi, those who are situated on that Brahman state, brahmavadibihi, by those who are advocates of the absolute truth. Brahmavadibihi, Brahmavada, not Jadavada. People in this material world, they are talking, you should become big, you should become very famous man, you should become powerful, you should become rich. They are Jadavadis. Only material things they talk. Now we are talking about Brahmavadibihi. So, what do Brahmavadibihi say? Brahma etad. This is Brahman. Brahman state of consciousness. How is it? Navyavad. Ever increasingly fresh. Navya. Nava. New. Navyavat hridaye. Their heart is constantly experiencing newer and fresher states of existence. Navyavat hridaye yagno. Because gnaha is one who knows. Here it is referring to Paramatma, one who knows everything. Navyavat hridaye yagno Brahma etad brahmavadibihi na muhyanti, never illusioned, na shochanti, never laments, na hrishyanti, not excited by these material things, yato gataha, when one attains that Brahma state, brahma-bhuta state. Translation: always engaging in the activities of devotional service, devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. You see? Devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. The all-knower, the super soul within the heart of the devotee makes everything increasingly fresh. Navyavad hridaye. This is known as the Brahman position. Brahma etad. Etad Brahman. This is known as the Brahman position by the advocates of the absolute truth. Brahma etad brahmavadibihi. In such a liberated stage, brahma-bhuta, it is a liberated stage. A Brahmana is liberated. In such a liberated stage, one is never bewildered, na muhyanti, nor does one lament, na shochanti, or become unnecessarily jubilant, na hrishyanti. This is due to the brahma-bhuta situation. See, it's a situation. It's a state of existence, state of evolution. Brahma-bhuta, state of evolution. So, all these things very clearly shows that Brahma-bhuta, Brahman, knowledge, of Brahman, awareness of Brahman, is a state of consciousness, and consciousness evolves. In another place, Prabhupada says, flowering of the consciousness, blossoming of the consciousness. So when our consciousness has blossomed, has evolved, and has bloomed, at that stage, what is it? Navyavad hrudaye. You see how wonderful these things are? How Bhagavatam is giving us an understanding of what is it? That state, brahma-bhuta stage. Because it is at that stage one can become a devotee. It's a deliberated state. So, evolution of consciousness. Brahmana is most evolved, and that is why he is yajna yajana. He's performing sacrifices. Sacrifice means, Srila Prabhupada explains in another place in the purport, I didn't bring that quote on these lines. When you recognize the Supreme and act for his pleasure, that is the essence of sacrifice. Brahmanical culture means you recognize the Supreme and you want to work for his satisfaction. You act for his satisfaction. So, brahma-bhuta, that consciousness evolves gradually. Consciousness can evolve gradually in a human society, and a society which is conscious of this, that consciousness has to evolve, is called a Brahmanical culture or a Varnashrama culture. In a Varnashrama culture, sve karmana tamabhyarcham. In their respective duties, sve karmana tamabhyarcham, they worship the Supreme Lord. That's the understanding. Sve karmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. Manavaha siddhim vindati. It doesn't say only Brahmanas will attain perfection. Everybody can attain perfection by performance of their respective duties. Because the Brahmana, the Varnashrama is such that everyone can evolve. Okay. So, there is a state of consciousness when one understands that there is a supplier, there is a creator, there is God who has created this, and I must acknowledge that creator. That is one level of evolution. And the next level of evolution is understanding that, yes, I want to succeed in this world. I want money, I want success, all these things. And I need the blessings of that creator. So I must worship that creator and I must seek his blessing. That consciousness that I am under the control, this is an evolution. And I depend on his blessing. And I must be thankful to him when he blesses me. Of course, when he doesn't bless me, what I will become is a little bit of a question. So anyway, that at least that consciousness that I recognize that there is a Supreme and my activities are not independent. I may perform very well, but for the result, I need his blessing. This awareness, this consciousness is what Karma Kanda prepares. You want children, you want good wife, you want good husband, you want wealth, you don't want enemies, you want to conquer or overcome your enemies. Yes, you will do this, you do this, you do this, you will get this, you will get this. This is what Karma Kanda is. And the conditioned soul who wants all these things, he's attracted to this. This is kavitam. That's the word, kavitam, flowery words in the Karma Kanda. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. In flowery words, these things are described in the Vedic literatures. So this is one level of evolution of consciousness. Then, when one understands that all these material pleasures are not going to make me happy, then he looks for a transcendental kind of happiness, and then he looks at something even higher. So like this, you see, the consciousness is evolving. Then when one understands that Supreme is a person, and I have a relation with that person, and I have to relate with him in loving service, these are all further understanding of the evolution of the consciousness. So that is why a Brahmana further evolves to become a Vaishnava. You see, the word Vaishnava is similar to the word Brahmana. Brahma janati iti Brahmana. It's a state of consciousness where you recognize Brahman, absolute truth. Vaishnava is Vishnu. It is related to the word Vishnu. When you recognize Vishnu, when your center of your life is Vishnu, that is called Vaishnava. Again, it's not a sect. Among Brahmins, there are some are Smartas, some are Vaishnavas. This is the understanding, right, in our diluted, contaminated Indian culture today. So, this is Vaishnava, means who has made Vishnu as the center in his life. That is a Vaishnava. So, this is further evolution of consciousness. Now, when somebody is not interested in all these things in the material world, these things are not, if these things are taught, they will not appreciate. That's why Krishna says, Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave. Now I'll tell you a very confidential thing. Because it is called confidential because it requires extra qualifications. Somebody who is absorbed in karma kanda, what he can understand, he has no interest in it. Like say, for instance, we have a preschool. We have in our Basil Woods also, we have preschool. All small children. Now, I will bring one professor from Indian Institute of Science. And I'll tell him, Professor, can you please address all these children? And you have to describe to them what is dissertation, what is research methodology, how do you conduct research, how you identify a research problem, and can you please teach them all those things, then you will get a doctoral degree. The children, they are just playing with toys. They cannot understand doctoral subjects and such things. It's irrelevant for them. In the same way, somebody who is in the karma kanda, I want to enjoy this material world nicely. For him to understand who is the Lord and what is his relationship with the material world, these are all, cannot understand. That's why Krishna says, Idam tu te guhyatam. Now I'll tell you my position. Aham hi sarvayagnanam bhokta cha prabhurevacha. In everyone's activities, every sacrifice they make, I should be the enjoyer and I should be the master. For a conditioned soul who is looking at how I can enjoy, this is all, what he can understand that. I want to enjoy, I have to become the Prabhu and I want to become the Bhokta, he is thinking. See, this is a higher level. Recognize that, yes, Krishna is the Supreme. So, generally, these are all considered advanced knowledge. But in the Bhagavad Gita and in Krishna consciousness, Krishna became very anxious. I must give this to everybody. When that Supreme Lord Krishna is becoming very anxious, I have to give this knowledge to everyone. They should know this. They should understand bhakti. When that Lord develops that anxiety, the Lord's form in his anxiety to give this knowledge and awareness to more and more people, that form of the Lord is called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wants to give that. He wants to give that freely. So that was the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, he not only wants to give that, he has a plan. And for that plan to work, he brings the holy name. You see, to accelerate the process of evolution, of consciousness, he brings the holy name and he brings a pure devotee. Sango Pangastra Parshadam. His weapons are his associates. So, pure devotee, the holy name, the Sharanagati, all this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings and teaches. That's why when even when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, he felt it is not enough, I must come myself in Kali Yuga. So this is what happens. And that's why Srila Prabhupada writes in one place about chanting the holy name. He says, chanting the Hare Krishna means coming directly in contact with Krishna. Hence we have to be careful, cautious, and respectful. We have to be careful, conscious, and respectful. Because we are dealing directly with Krishna. That's how we must chant carefully, cautiously, and respectfully. So these are some of the things that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings, and so that we have an accelerated evolution process working even in the most unqualified, among the most unqualified people in the human society. So this is and such people, such Brahmanas, when they are fed, Krishna is saying, I eat through the mouths of such Brahmanas, such elevated people. And there is no one equal to them. Now you see how all these things fall in place. So we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.